The diary fell out of Madison's backpack when she was rushing to catch her ride home, pages scattering across our marble foyer like secrets demanding to be exposed. I bent to gather them, expecting to find the typical teenage thoughts about boys, school drama, and weekend plans. Instead, what I discovered was meticulous documentation of my husband's affair, detailed financial analysis of our family's assets, and a systematic plan to destroy our marriage that had been operating under our roof for 8 months. My name is Catherine Blackwood, and for 12 years I'd been building what I thought was the perfect life. Successful interior design business, beautiful home in Westchester County, devoted husband who was a partner at a prestigious Manhattan law firm, and 2 children who were thriving in private school. What I didn't know was that our 19-year-old babysitter wasn't just watching my children. She was studying my family like a research project, documenting our vulnerabilities, and systematically positioning herself to take everything I'd worked to build. Madison Chen had presented herself as the ideal caregiver. Columbia pre-law student from a respectable family, excellent references, and the kind of mature responsibility that made wealthy parents feel confident leaving their children in her care. What she'd actually brought into our home was a calculated intelligence that had been mapping our family's weaknesses, exploiting my husband's midlife insecurities, and building a case for why she deserved the life I was living. The diary pages scattered across my floor contained evidence of seduction, manipulation, financial planning, and identity theft that went far beyond a simple affair. Madison hadn't just been sleeping with my husband. She'd been systematically stealing my life while documenting every step of the process with the precision of someone who understood exactly how to dismantle a successful woman's existence and claim it as her own. But what Madison had failed to consider was that the woman whose life she'd been stealing wasn't just a wealthy housewife with more money than sense. I was someone who'd built a $1 million business by understanding people's deepest desires and fears, and I'd learned long ago that the most dangerous enemies were the ones who smiled while they destroyed you. Picture this: our kitchen on a Tuesday evening in October 1995, where Madison was helping 8-year-old Sophie with homework, while 4-year-old James built elaborate block towers that would inevitably crash down with delighted squeals. The scene looked like something from a magazine spread about successful modern families. Beautiful home, well-behaved children, and the kind of reliable childcare that allowed professional parents to maintain demanding careers. Madison had been our babysitter for 8 months, recommended by the Weatherbees next door who'd raved about her maturity, academic excellence, and natural way with children. She arrived precisely on time, completed household tasks without being asked, and provided the kind of seamless support that made our complicated schedules function smoothly. Mrs. Blackwood, Sophie finished her math homework and James ate all his dinner. I've gotten them both ready for baths, and I thought I'd start the laundry if that's helpful. What I'd interpreted as exceptional work ethic and consideration had actually been Madison using household access to study our family's routines, financial documents, and personal relationships. Every helpful task had been reconnaissance disguised as responsibility. Our Westchester home represented everything Madison appeared to admire about successful adult life. Designer furnishings, expensive art, luxury cars in the circular driveway, and the kind of effortless elegance that money could buy when combined with professional taste. She'd often commented on our beautiful things with the kind of appreciation that seemed mature and appropriate. Madison, will you read us the story about the princess tonight? Madison, can you help me with my castle tomorrow? Music building with ominous undertones. Our children adored her with the kind of genuine affection that made Richard and me feel confident about our childcare choice. Madison had become part of our family routine in ways that felt natural and beneficial. Someone who genuinely cared about our children's well-being while supporting our professional obligations. Richard would arrive home from his law firm around 8, usually finding Madison completing homework supervision or organizing playroom activities with the kind of competence that impressed him. She'd provide detailed updates about the children's day, ask thoughtful questions about their developmental progress, and demonstrate exactly the kind of responsibility that successful parents valued. Madison, you're a godsend. Catherine and I don't know how we managed before you started helping us. What Richard had been expressing as gratitude for exceptional childcare had actually been the beginning of emotional manipulation, designed to make him feel special, understood, and appreciated in ways that would eventually contrast with his perception of his wife's demanding career and social obligations. Our household had achieved the kind of smooth functionality that allowed Richard and me to pursue demanding careers while maintaining family stability. Madison's presence had eliminated the stress and logistics challenges that plagued other dual-career families with young children. But the diary pages now scattered across our foyer revealed that Madison's integration into our family hadn't been about helping us achieve work-life balance. It had been about studying our vulnerabilities, mapping our financial assets, and positioning herself to systematically replace me in every aspect of the life I'd built. Madison's diary revealed a level of systematic observation and analysis that transformed my understanding of everything that had been happening in our home for the past 8 months. This wasn't casual teenage journaling. It was professional-level documentation of family analysis, relationship mapping, and strategic planning. Entry: March 15, 1995. Day 12 at the Blackwood house. Catherine works late every Tuesday and Thursday. Richard arrives home tired and stressed, clearly not getting emotional support from his career-obsessed wife. The children crave attention that Catherine is too busy to provide. Obvious vulnerabilities. Richard's need for appreciation. Catherine's guilt about work-family balance. Family financial complexity that she probably doesn't fully understand. Madison had been conducting psychological profiles of my family members with the precision of a trained behavioral analyst. Every conversation, every interaction, every family dynamic had been cataloged and evaluated for manipulation potential. Entry: April 22, 1995. Richard complained about Catherine missing another school event for a client meeting. He's clearly feeling neglected and unappreciated. Started asking about my college experience, my career goals, my thoughts about work-life balance. Opening established. Children mentioned that mommy is always on the phone with work. Positioning opportunity identified. The diary contained detailed financial analysis based on documents Madison had photographed while organizing our home office. She'd systematically documented our bank account information, investment portfolios, real estate holdings, and business assets with the thoroughness of someone conducting due diligence for a major acquisition. Entry: May 8, 1995. Blackwood family net worth approximately $3.2 million. Catherine's business generates $400,000 annually but requires constant client management. Richard's partnership track projected $800,000 by next year. Real estate assets include Westchester home, $850,000, Hampton's house, $1.2 million, Manhattan pied-à-terre, $600,000. Life insurance policies total $2.5 million. Catherine's business depends entirely on her personal relationships. Eliminate her, acquire the lifestyle. But the most damaging documentation involved Madison's systematic seduction of Richard, carefully planned to exploit his emotional vulnerabilities while positioning herself as everything his wife apparently wasn't providing. Music building with strategic horror. Entry: June 14, 1995. Richard stayed late to help with children's bedtime routine. Conversation about Columbia Law School, career ambitions, life goals. He's clearly attracted, but fighting it due to marriage obligations and professional ethics. Need to increase emotional intimacy while maintaining plausible deniability. Catherine's business trip next week provides opportunity. Madison hadn't just been seducing my husband. She'd been studying him like a research subject, identifying his emotional needs, professional insecurities, and psychological triggers with the precision of someone who understood exactly how to manipulate successful men experiencing midlife vulnerability. The diary contained detailed plans for gradually replacing me in every aspect of family life. Taking over household management, becoming the children's primary emotional attachment, positioning herself as Richard's intellectual equal and emotional support, and systematically undermining my relationships with clients, friends, and extended family. Madison's documentation project revealed that our perfect babysitting arrangement had actually been an 8-month infiltration operation designed to study, manipulate, and eventually destroy everything I'd worked to build while positioning a 19-year-old college student to claim my life as her own. The deeper sections of Madison's diary revealed that her plan went far beyond seducing my husband and manipulating my family. She'd been systematically stealing my identity, replicating my business methods, and building a parallel life that would allow her to seamlessly transition into being Catherine Blackwood. Entry: July 3rd, 1995. Copied Catherine's client files, business contracts, vendor relationships. Her interior design success is built on personal connections and project management systems that can be replicated. Have been studying her design aesthetic, client communication style, project pricing structure. Could easily take over her business relationships once she's eliminated from the picture. Madison had been using her access to our home office to photograph confidential business documents, client information, and proprietary design processes that had taken me 12 years to develop. She wasn't just planning to replace me personally. She was preparing to steal my professional identity and career. Entry: July 20th, 1995. Attended Catherine's client presentation at the Morrison estate. Studied her interaction style, design presentation methods, project management approach. Could easily pose as her assistant or junior partner to existing clients. Have been building portfolio using variations of her design concepts. Several clients have mentioned being impressed by Catherine's new assistant during site visits. The diary revealed that Madison had been systematically accessing our personal computers, copying financial records, and building comprehensive files on our business operations, social connections, and family assets. She'd been creating parallel documentation that would support her transition into my life. But the most chilling discovery was Madison's psychological analysis of how to eliminate me from my own life without anyone questioning the transition. She'd been studying my behavior patterns, identifying potential character flaws, and planning ways to make my disappearance look like personal breakdown rather than external manipulation. Entry: August 10th, 1995. Catherine's perfectionist tendencies and work obsession create natural breaking points. Increased stress about missing family obligations, guilt about children's emotional needs, anxiety about business competition. Could easily trigger breakdown that would justify Richard seeking custody, me stepping in as children's caregiver, business clients transferring to more reliable provider. Madison hadn't just been planning to steal my husband. She'd been systematically preparing to take over my entire existence while making it appear that I'd abandoned my family through personal failure and professional obsession. Entry: September 15th, 1995. Richard increasingly dependent on emotional support I provide. Children prefer my attention to Catherine's distracted parenting. Business clients responding positively to my involvement in projects. Foundation established for transition. Catherine's elimination can appear natural result of work-life balance failure rather than external interference. The diary documented Madison's plan to systematically destroy my marriage, alienate my children, sabotage my business relationships, and eliminate me from my own life while positioning herself as the natural replacement who could provide everything I'd apparently failed to deliver. But what Madison had failed to consider was that the woman whose life she'd been systematically stealing wasn't just a successful interior designer. I was someone who'd built a business by understanding people's deepest desires and motivations, and I'd learned to identify manipulation before it could destroy me. Armed with complete documentation of Madison's 8-month infiltration operation, I began planning a confrontation that would expose her conspiracy while protecting my family from the psychological damage her manipulation had already caused. As someone who'd built a successful business by understanding client psychology and managing complex interpersonal dynamics, I recognized that simply exposing Madison's diary wouldn't be sufficient. Richard had been systematically manipulated for months, and direct confrontation would likely trigger defensive responses that could drive him further into Madison's influence. The first step was verifying Madison's claims and identifying additional evidence that would support the diary's revelations. Her references from previous families had been fabricated. When I contacted the numbers she'd provided, they led to disconnected phones or people who'd never heard of Madison Chen. Columbia University had no record of Madison Chen enrolled in their pre-law program. The address she'd provided was a mail forwarding service, and the respectable family she'd claimed was actually a carefully constructed identity designed to pass basic background verification without deeper investigation. More disturbing was the discovery that Madison had been operating similar infiltration schemes with at least 3 other wealthy families over the past 2 years. She'd systematically targeted successful women with demanding careers, young children, and husbands experiencing midlife vulnerability. Mrs. Blackwood, what you're describing meets the clinical definition of systematic psychological manipulation and identity theft, explained Dr. Patricia Winters, the forensic psychologist I'd consulted confidentially. This individual has been conducting organized psychological warfare against your family. The manipulation techniques described in this diary are sophisticated enough to suggest professional training or extensive experience. But the most valuable insight was understanding that Madison's operation depended on maintaining her position as trusted family insider. Exposing her gradually while documenting her responses would provide additional evidence while preventing her from disappearing before facing consequences. I began implementing subtle changes designed to test Madison's reactions and gather additional evidence. Installing hidden cameras in our home office, monitoring computer access, and carefully tracking her interactions with Richard and the children while appearing to maintain normal family routines. October 12, 1995. Hidden camera evidence. Madison accessing our computer after children's bedtime, downloading client files and financial documents onto disk. Richard working late, unaware that our babysitter was stealing proprietary business information while he trusted her with our home security. October 18, 1995. Phone recording. Madison coordinating with unknown parties about timeline acceleration and target elimination. Discussion of backup identities and financial accounts that suggested this was part of larger criminal operation rather than isolated incident. The investigation revealed that Madison Chen was actually Michelle Carter, part of organized identity theft ring that specialized in infiltrating wealthy families, stealing business assets, and systematically destroying successful women's lives while appropriating their resources and relationships. But the final piece of evidence was the discovery that Madison/Michelle had been drugging my coffee during evening hours, causing the fatigue and cognitive fog that had been affecting my work performance and family relationships for the past 2 months. The 19-year-old college student who'd been systematically stealing my life was about to discover what happened when someone with 12 years of business experience and access to forensic psychology experts decided to fight back against organized criminal manipulation. The confrontation with Madison/Michelle was carefully orchestrated to occur when I had maximum evidence, legal support, and strategic advantage. Rather than emotional confrontation, I approached her elimination from our lives like the business operation it had always been. "Madison," I said as she arrived for her regular Tuesday evening shift, "we need to discuss some concerns about your employment with our family." The dining room table was arranged with printed copies of her diary entries, photographs of her accessing our computer systems, documentation of her false identity, and evidence of her connection to the organized identity theft operation that had been targeting wealthy families throughout Westchester County. "Mrs. Blackwood, I don't understand what this is about. Has something happened with the children?" Voice becoming coldly professional. Michelle Carter, age 24, currently wanted by authorities in Connecticut and New Jersey for identity theft, financial fraud, and organized conspiracy to defraud multiple families. The FBI has been tracking your operation for 18 months. The investigation had revealed that Madison Chen was part of a sophisticated criminal network that specialized in infiltrating wealthy households, studying family dynamics, and systematically stealing business assets while destroying the women who'd built them. My family had been targeted based on specific criteria that made us ideal marks for their operation. Your diary documented 8 months of systematic psychological manipulation, identity theft, financial fraud, and conspiracy to destroy my marriage and business, I continued, watching her realize that her perfect infiltration had been completely exposed. "You've been drugging me, manipulating my husband, and stealing proprietary business information while posing as our children's caregiver." The evidence was overwhelming. Hidden camera footage of Madison accessing our computers, phone recordings of her coordinating with criminal associates, toxicology reports showing systematic poisoning, and financial documentation proving theft of business assets and client information. But the most satisfying element was Richard's response when presented with complete documentation of Madison's manipulation operation. The systematic seduction that had been making him question his marriage was revealed as calculated criminal manipulation designed to destroy our family for financial gain. "Catherine, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I fell for this manipulation. She made me feel like you didn't appreciate me, like our marriage was failing, like she understood me better than my own wife." The FBI investigation that followed Madison's arrest revealed that our family had been just one target in a sophisticated operation that had successfully destroyed 12 other families over the past 3 years. The criminal network had stolen over $8 million in business assets while systematically destroying successful women's careers and family relationships. Madison Michelle received 15 years in federal prison for identity theft, financial fraud, conspiracy, and organized criminal enterprise. Her associates were arrested in coordinated raids that eliminated the entire operation and recovered stolen assets from multiple victim families. But the most perfect justice was the discovery that Madison's systematic documentation of our family had provided prosecutors with evidence that resulted in RICO charges and additional criminal penalties that would keep her incarcerated for decades. 2 years after exposing Madison's infiltration operation, I was sitting in my expanded Manhattan office, reviewing contracts for interior design projects that had grown my business to $1.2 million in annual revenue. The criminal case had generated significant media attention that positioned me as an expert in recognizing and preventing domestic infiltration schemes. My experience with Madison's manipulation had led to consulting opportunities with security firms, law enforcement agencies, and wealthy families seeking to protect themselves from similar infiltration operations. I'd become a recognized expert in identifying sophisticated criminal manipulation while maintaining family security. Richard and I had completed couples therapy that helped us understand how systematic psychological manipulation had affected our marriage while strengthening our relationship against future external threats. Our children had received counseling that helped them process the betrayal while maintaining their emotional security. Madison's diary, which had been intended to document my destruction and her appropriation of my life, had become evidence in a federal case that protected other families from similar criminal operations while establishing legal precedents for prosecuting domestic infiltration schemes. Mrs. Blackwood, your case has become required reading at the FBI Academy for agents specializing in white-collar domestic crimes, explained Agent Patricia Morrison during a recent consultation. Your systematic documentation of the infiltration process has revolutionized how we investigate and prosecute these types of organized criminal operations. Our home now included professional security systems, comprehensive background verification for all service providers, and the kind of protective measures that wealthy families should have implemented years earlier. We'd learned to verify rather than trust, while maintaining the family warmth that made our life worth protecting. I'd also begun offering pro bono consulting services to families who'd been targeted by similar infiltration schemes, helping them rebuild their lives while ensuring that the criminals who'd violated their homes faced appropriate consequences. The 19-year-old babysitter who'd systematically stolen my identity, manipulated my family, and planned to eliminate me from my own life, had provided perfect documentation for a federal case that protected countless other families while establishing me as a national expert in domestic security. Madison had thought she'd found the perfect target. Successful woman with more money than sense, distracted by career obligations, vulnerable to systematic manipulation by someone young and clever enough to identify family weaknesses. Instead, she'd encountered someone who understood people well enough to build $1 million business, and who'd learned that the most dangerous enemies were the ones who documented their crimes while believing they were too smart to be caught. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing criminal manipulation. It's using that exposure to build something bigger than what they tried to destroy while ensuring that other families never have to experience the violation of discovering that their trusted caregiver was actually a professional criminal who'd been systematically stealing their lives. They'd called me distracted and work-obsessed. I'd used those accusations to build a business that protected families from exactly the kind of criminal manipulation they'd been conducting. Sound fades to secure silence. And sometimes the greatest gift a criminal can give you is complete documentation of their operation, delivered directly to someone with enough business intelligence and legal resources to ensure that their perfect crime becomes the evidence for their perfect imprisonment.